Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Were any of you here when I did the talk when we were downtown? Oh my gosh, the new class, okay, good. My name is Dee Dee Taylor. I own 502 Hemp and 812 Hemp, and oh man, I've kind of been in this business since about 2010. My husband actually suffers from seizures, and at that time, he had a really bad one, and he ended up waking up in the Speedway, about, I don't know, 3 blocks from his house. And I hadn't moved here at that time. He's my second husband. But it was kind of crazy watching him go through this, and every time he'd go see a doctor, they'd just prescribe more pills. They had him up to 28 pills. He was taking Lamictal, phenobarbital, and Dilantin. And those pills were killing that man. So finally, after that bad one, and then I just wanted to put him on something else, I said, can we try some natural stuff? I know it's not legal in this state, but I think we could try it. And he actually went out west and learned how to make CBD oil from non-hemp products. We'll put it that way. And we started, he did, he's a genius. He's not here, so I can say that. But he started like distilling it himself. It looked like we were making bourbon in our basements. It was crazy. I mean, a copper still and everything. But he started distilling it, and he started making his own medicine. And in that process of getting rid of all those pills and all that stuff, he went 5 years seizure free. So no one could tell me that this stuff didn't work. It was just like, almost like that miracle we were hoping for. But at the same time, he still has had seizures. It's been, 14 years, and I think he's had about 15, which comparatively, he was doing 2 to 4 a month. So huge difference for him. And in 14, when the first farm bill passed in Kentucky, he became one of the first licensed processors in the state to do it legally, and started using hemp. And really back then, they were just starting things in this state. Kentucky was supposed to be the cash crop and help the tobacco farmers, and started kind of growing. He actually had to go out to Colorado to bring back genetics because there was no plants, not legal ones anyway, in this state that was being grown. And most people don't understand, but hemp and marijuana is actually the same plant. It is the same plant. So when they legalized hemp, they did technically legalize THC, but only up to that 0.3%. The crazy thing about that is they only limited Delta 9 THC. There's tons of THCs in the plant. There's about 130 different cannabinoids is what they're called. CBD is just one of them. THC is just one of them. There's a ton of different cannabinoids, and they all do something different within our body. So when I learned how it's not a drug, it kind of changed my opinion about everything. And the fact that we found a patent on cannabis oil, and my husband he's a veteran, by the way, so he was really upset being a veteran, and how he's fought for our country. Well, I didn't really fight, but still, being a veteran, and he was just really upset that our own government tried to keep this plant from us, and for as long as they have, considering how much our bodies actually use it. And the reason is because we all have an endocannabinoid system. That's what changed a lot of things for me. If it was a drug, like birth control, aspirin, Tylenol, fentanyl, heroin, your body is designed to get rid of poisons. You have to keep taking those drugs to keep them in your system, right? So you can actually take all of that stuff and get off of it for a few days, 72 hours for a lot of these drugs, and you will pass a drug test. But the only one you don't pass a drug test for is THC, right? So if they're drug testing for THC, it stays in your body because it's not a poison. It's not harming your body, it actually helps your body. Your body actually keeps it, it uses it for whatever it needs it for. Whether it's building healthy cells, whether it's just kind of creating that homeostasis so your body works the way it's supposed to, and it works within that endocannabinoid system. You have receptors in your brain, you have receptors in your body. CBD is just one cannabinoid that isn't psychoactive in the plant that people get that wellness side THC is the psychoactive one, so you will feel that more. A lot of people don't like CBD because they always say they don't feel anything. You're not supposed to. It's working on the inside, getting things kind of regulated to where it's more of like that even keel. So then came Delta 8 THC and Delta 9 THC. Again, same plant. So you don't have to drive to a legal state. It is legal here, just in the form of hemp. So we don't say marijuana, we say Delta 9 THC. That's how we, our terminology in the hemp field anyway. But it still helps. It still provides pain relief, helps you get sleep. I think CBD is really good for anxiety, and it helps your body just kind of chill out without that psychosis feeling that THC has. I think full spectrum CBD, which is all of the cannabinoids, like this whole little pie, and this is just a little pie chart. CBD is the buzzword, and then you've got all these other cannabinoids. All of them work together, work best for your body. So I say if you're not getting drug tested and no one's checking to see if you take THC, take full spectrum products. That's going to give you all of the cannabinoids that your body needs and will use for whatever it needs it for. They're starting to do a lot more research on how these products help. I mean, because it's only been legal truly since 14, really 18, when the second Farm Bill came out. That's the one that was signed. And that really opened the door for a lot more because it made hemp products federally legal. So that they're starting to do a lot more research. But the crazy thing is, Israel, they are way ahead of us as far as the THC research goes and the cannabinoid research goes. So a lot of the things that I was reading back in 16, when we were really just starting to ramp up here in this state, I was like, everybody should be taking this. Like, everyone should be using these products and thinking of it more like a vitamin. Almost like, eat your broccoli. You know what I mean? You can take the beta carotene out of broccoli, but then you're missing all the other nutrients. So why not take all of this? It just, when it dawned on me that our bodies keep this and retain it for a reason up to 30, 45 days, that THC, I'm like, it's really not a drug. It really is a plant that our bodies need, that our bodies can use to help us just feel our normal. I used to take a ton of anxiety medication. I grew up in Ohio, very rough, let's put it that way. I won't get into my childhood because that's for my therapist. But it was not easy. So I always dealt with anxiety. I would have panic attacks. I put myself through college, have a paralegal degree. I know I had always planned on law school, but then once I started working for attorneys, sorry if anyone's an attorney or was, I decided I did not want to do that. I did not want to be an attorney or be like them anyway. But I mean, I put myself through school, and I have such OCD that I always try to make everything perfect and it has to be right, and I have to know everything and I have to research everything. And it was tough for me because I couldn't relax ever. Like, I was always just on this heightened state of anxiety. And I tried so many medications. I think the last one I tried was Zoloft after my mom passed away and I moved to Kentucky, further south anyway. And I was just having so much anxiety, and the attorney I worked for, that was very difficult. And when John, my husband, he finally made a product, he's like, would you just try it? Because I almost had a panic attack and wrecked the car, and he's like, just try it. So I did, and I was like, after a few days, I noticed I didn't feel all that weight on my shoulders. I didn't feel it in my chest. I started sleeping better. I wasn't as like up and down with my emotions. I was just a little bit more even keeled. I still had a personality. Where like with Zoloft, I felt like it took my soul. You know, I couldn't even cry. I just didn't care really about anything. So I never cared for those medications. And Zoloft gave me irritable bowel syndrome. I never had a problem until that medication. I was like, yeah, there's something to be said for natural. So when I started using CBD products, that's when I really started learning. I had to do my research. Like, why does this work? For my husband for his seizures, and it's also working for my anxiety. And that's where that neurological aspect comes in, and those CB1 and CB2 receptors. So this cannabinoids in the CBD oil that I started using was just helping my body find its natural homeostasis. So it made such a huge impact on me that I ended up going into this business with my husband. Would have never thought in a million years. I was, the one who put myself through school and got out of the situation because I wanted something better. And I realized that I was given this gift to be able to help others. And it has been probably the best decision I have ever made, even with all the politics and all the legislation and everything else that we have fought so hard to keep these products legal. It's been worth it. It's been an amazing journey. These products work for everyone. Everyone should be allowed to take them. They should be economical to be able to take them. It's still expensive to produce them, but they work. They actually do work. And they all work differently for everybody. And it depends on which cannabinoid you use and how it's going to work for you. So Delta-9 is the THC that is the same Delta-9 THC that's in marijuana. That's the one that the government limited to the 0.3%. However, you can still get a gummy. These are 10 milligrams of each gummy. That's what they sell at most dispensaries. They don't go over 10 milligrams. As a matter of fact, Kentucky, when the medical program happens, they're not going over 10 milligrams. I already have them. You don't have to wait. That's the one thing about this that I'm like, I hate for people to say I'm waiting for the real stuff. I'm like, I promise you, if you try this, it is the real stuff. You will be just as surprised. But you also need to go slow. Don't eat a whole gummy your first time, ever. Try a half or less and just see how your body reacts to it. That's probably the most important thing that we teach at my stores is that you have to learn and you have to be educated. You don't just go taking gummies and expecting things or taking too much and then it's not a fun experience. You take too much and you'll feel way more of that psychosis effect. A lot of people don't need that. They don't want that. People just look for pain relief and sleep. Those are the two biggest things in anxiety. Those are the three biggest things that people come into my store for. And I know that with Parkinson's, a lot of people are experiencing that anxiety. I totally understand that. If you are just coming in to want anxiety relief, I'm going to tell you to stick with CBD full spectrum because that is going to give you the most anxiety relief. I take that every single day. I only use the Delta-9s or the Delta-8s. I use them more for like relaxing and watching a movie or really just if I want a really good night's sleep, I love taking Delta-8. I will actually mix a little bit of my Delta-8 liquid in with my CBD oil because it's just that little bit more of the THC that helps me sleep well. Because I always had a problem with waking up in the middle of the night. And then sometimes your head starts going, you start thinking, I'm like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do that, and I can't shut my brain off. With the Delta-8, oh, it's a wonderful night of sleep. It's a great night of sleep. I usually, with my little thing, it's telling me that I get about 8 hours, and I'm like, that's beautiful. Even if I get up to go to the restroom, I can go back to sleep. So I know that's a big deal for Parkinson's with sleep issues. I totally understand that. But you can use these products without that feeling of high if you don't want to feel high from it. And I don't even like to use that word. I usually say euphoric feeling. But you want to go slow. Again, even with the Delta-8 THC, you always want to go slow. You don't want to eat that whole gummy. I'm begging you don't eat that whole gummy because you will not appreciate it. And then, and even for the people that have a tolerance that have used these products before, like with marijuana products in general, it is the same thing. So it's always just best to go slow with that. And I can't even stress that enough. And know your source. So we've been doing this obviously for a while. We test all of our products. That was the biggest thing for me when I got into this business. And my husband and I kind of doing it together, but that was the one thing that we've always been very, 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 like on the forefront of requiring. You have to have your products tested. And the reason being is hemp, oh man, it will clean the soil. it will pull everything out of the soil. Like say you're on a farm that has used pesticides and chemicals, and you go to plant, even though you plant it without any pesticides, that hemp will pull all of that stuff out of the soil. It'll clean your soil for you, but then it's left that hemp unusable because we won't use it. If it's been grown with any pesticides or it pulls something up out of the earth, we won't use it because we will take these products. We changed our diets a long time ago with my husband's seizures and then just with my own well-being. Like we've switched to organic. We try to eat as less processed foods as we possibly can. I mean, food is your medicine. Same thing as plants. Plants, why would I want to put chemicals in a wellness product? So it's just super important. Even if you never buy from me and you go some other place, just make sure that they test their products. Most companies have these little Q&R codes, is what they're called. You can scan them with most smartphones now, and it'll take you to where their certificates of analysis are. And that's gonna tell you how much is in that product, how many milligrams of whatever it is that you want. And then also, most companies, and they should, you test that hemp product when it comes in and it gets extracted, they test it then. So those are called full panels. So I don't do full panels on the gummy part, I do it on the actual plant distillate. And they take that distillate and then make all my gummies with it. So that's what gets tested to make sure there is no chemicals, no pesticides, no mold, things like that that can be harmful for us. So make sure that they have those Q&R, even if it's not a Q&R code, a way to look at the certificates of analysis. And we can always help you read that. So if you have bought a product somewhere else and you're like, I don't know what any of this means, we can always help show you. Be like, yes, okay, that's fine. And there's been many people that have brought things and I'm like, it seems like an ugly product to me. Do you know what I mean? It's fine. You know what I mean? Go ahead and take it. You bought it, use it. But that to me is just extremely important. When we got into this, I mean, we're doing this as more of like a dietary supplement, even though the FDA will not allow us to call it that. We can't make any claims to it. I'm not supposed to tell you that it's helped my anxiety, but it has. I'm not supposed to tell you it's helped my husband's seizures, but it has. I mean, I've got so much anecdotal evidence that the longer I've been in this business, the more that I just know our government was lying to us for years. And it's a shame because it's hard breaking that stigma of it being a drug. It's a drug, it's a drug, it's bad for you, it's a drug, it causes all kinds of things. It's simply not true. Yes, can you overuse it? Yes. Will you have a bad day? Yes. Will you die from it? No. That's the thing. This isn't alcohol. This isn't cigarettes. Those two things have killed tons and tons of people. How many people have died from cigarettes and the results from cigarettes? How many people have died from alcohol, whether it's a car crash or just alcoholism in general, alcohol-related deaths? Cannabis has never killed anybody, never. When used appropriately, it has never, even not used appropriately, you can't really overdose on cannabis. You might have a bad experience and you might be praying for those few hours to go by, but eventually you will be fine. And there's no long-term residual effects. I get tested every year just to make sure my liver enzymes are fine. There was a study that went out that said these mice that they did this, they gave them like 6,000 milligrams. You know the average amount of milligrams that a human takes? It's about 50 to 200. My husband uses 200, I use 50. They were giving these little mice 6,000 milligrams. And then all of a sudden they're having their liver enzymes are high. Well, yeah, it's because you're giving them too much. But then of course it's spent, in the fun political arena and even in the medical arena that's bad. It's gonna elevate your liver enzymes. Sure, if you take that much. So it amazes me how they just, even now, still trying to block it. Even now, I've had to fight with the Kentucky legislators. Now they're trying to pass something in the new farm bill to eliminate the Delta 8 and Delta 9 products. Even put it to where it's THC free on all CBD products. And I'm just like, why? Why are you trying to take steps back, even though we're trying to get marijuana legalized in this country, and you're trying to limit hemp products? And it's sad, but it's because hemp is federally legal, where marijuana is still federally illegal. So you've got the illegal companies fighting against the legal companies, and it is such a conundrum, and I hate it. I hate it for this industry, and I hate it for that industry, because it's all the same plant. So we're fighting amongst ourselves now, and I'm like, why can't we all just get along and say, use your products and quit fighting? But there's just so many amazing things with this. I was on the governor's advisory panel to get his committee to get medical passed. And that's when he created he did the executive order about marijuana. The thing is, I was just talking about that. Yes, you can have your list and get that recommendation from your doctor that you can use marijuana and go to a state that's legal and bring it back. But if you get pulled over, you can still face charges, and then you are fighting those charges. And if Governor Andy is still the governor, then you can get a pardon, but you'd still have to go through all that. Why? Why risk it? That's what I don't understand, when we already have legal products that are going to help you. It's just all about finding the dose that works for you. I saw no point in his executive order, because I'm like, you can still get in trouble, and you can still pay to fight those charges. So I wasn't all for that. I really wasn't. And I just think it gave people that misconception that now it's safe to go to another state and bring back legal products, when technically it's still not. While Jefferson County has decriminalized it, they have, which I don't mind this, and forgive me for saying this, but there have been a lot of stores, even gas stations, that are selling flour, THCA flour. THCA, if you heat it up, it converts to THC, delta 9 THC. So a lot of gas stations and even other retailers are selling the flour. Well, flour, the actual buds, what I'm talking about, like for smoking, it's been illegal since 2015, 2016, I think. So I've never sold it once I learned the law, but then it's been sold all throughout, and now they're just now starting to raid stores and raid places that are selling that flour. And it was funny, because I talked to Jason Nemus, he's my representative, and he's the one that helped get Senate Bill 47 passed for medical. And I said, Jason, why would anybody buy medical when they can get flour at just about any place you go into? So I think just recently they've started cracking down on that. And it's a shame in one respect, because I feel like it should be legal if it's part of the hemp plant and it's hemp derived and it's under that 0.3%, we should be able to sell it. But at the same time, you've got so many people coming in from out of state trying to sell their products. And it hasn't benefited the Kentucky farmer like it should have. If we're going to sell those kind of products, then it should be Kentucky products. And that is what I like about my stuff, because it is Kentucky hemp. And to me, that's important too. It's taking care of our community. Why should I support another state? Even going to get the legal products, why should I support another state? I should support our Kentucky farmers, our Kentucky retailers, people here in this state, because that's who gives back to the community. It's kind of the same thing with Walmart. Why do you shop there if they don't help support, your son's baseball team? That's just kind of always been my thing. I try to support local as much as possible. I think that's important. And there's nothing ever good that has come health-wise out of a gas station. So do not buy your products at a gas station. The only thing you're gonna get there is beer, cigarettes, and gas, So that was just one thing, like, don't buy CBD products at a gas station. That's not the place to go. Go to a reputable source. I don't even sell like bongs and things like that at my store, because I'm not a head shop. We're an education center. I've always been about that. I just think that is super important, because so many people have questions. You can come in and talk to anyone. I've got certified cannabis consultants at my store. I've got an RN, former RN, so she's my operations manager. She's almost always there as much as I am to answer questions, and she knows her stuff. I like to say that she knows more than I do, but she'll say no. I'm like, I don't know, sometimes I think you do. But it's good to have that education and that experience. So we're not just selling products, we actually want you to get the maximum benefit from it. And the thing about these products, you gotta give CBD oil, full spectrum CBD oil, time to work. It is not a pill. It does not just work automatically. You gotta give it time. It takes sometimes 10 to 30 days before, oh, I'm not feeling as achy, or oh, I'm sleeping better, but it takes time to work. Now, the THC products, you will feel those because they're more in the psychosis effect. You will feel that difference, but not with CBD. It takes more time. You just gotta give it that chance to work. And it works, it does so much wonderful things in your body that you don't even know it's doing. So where I'm like, I need it for anxiety, I need it for this. Well, I also, I know it may not look like it, but I do. I hit the gym quite a bit. And I lift a lot. I used to weigh over 400 pounds, so I have worked my whole life to work on that. But I'm sore, and it helps with that recovery too. It just helps your body, again, heal itself naturally. But it does take time. Nothing's overnight. It's not that miracle pill. I'm not gonna tell you it's gonna cure cancer either. There's people that make claims to that kind of stuff, and it bugs me. But what I will tell you is that if you are doing a chemo route and you're taking CBD oil and Delta-9 and all that good stuff, what it's gonna do is it's gonna help your healthy cells stay healthy to fight the cancer cells. Is it going to cure you of cancer? No, I won't tell you that. Will it help with some of the side effects from the chemo? Yeah, because it's gonna help you with your appetite, it's gonna help you eat better, it's going to give you that little bit of relief that opioids don't always give you. And pain relief, Delta-9 and Delta-8 are amazing for pain relief. Again, use it how you should. Don't take too much of it. Just use a little bit at a time to see what works for you. A lot of people do not like the CBD products for pain relief because THC has more of the pain relieving qualities to it than CBD alone does. So if it's a lot of pain type of problems, I say stick with more products that have more THC in them. But for the anxiety, CBD for sure. For sleep, Delta-8 is amazing. So all of these different ones have different things that they help with in your body. There's a new one called THCV, as in Victor. It's more of like a focus gummy. So I have a lot of adults that are still taking Adderall or Ritalin, and this gummy has helped them get off of those meds because it's more of like just keep you focused to where you can do what you need to do. It's like a double espresso shot without the jitters. So it's just every cannabinoid that they are discovering does a different thing in our bodies, but they all work congruently too. So I always do full spectrum CBD because I don't get all the cannabinoids. My body's using it how it wants to use it. Now would I pass a drug test? Absolutely not, because I have THC in my system. I'm not high. I'm not here today high. You know, so it stays in your system without that effect to it. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of legislators don't understand that. I wish that I could teach more of them what really these products are about and how much they can benefit and help people. As far as Parkinson's, I printed this off. I hope I printed enough off. But there's and I just did like a little Google search. How does CBD help Parkinson's? And it pulled up all kinds of things. I tend to stick to like Mayo Clinic type articles. I am not a big person that reads from other websites because we write blogs too. So we have our own writing, but a lot of people will just be promoting their products. So keep that in mind. If you are on there doing research, stick to the actual scientific research and not just blogs that are written by people that are selling products. That was the one thing that I'm always like, yeah, they're gonna tell you anything you wanna hear because they're wanting to sell you their product. So just be careful with that. But they talk about this, how it helps with the sleep symptoms, how it helps with anxiety. They even have trials. So, and I put up the one that I was reading, that way you guys can read it. And I think I made enough copies but it talks about the insomnia if you're dealing with that. It talks about the tremors and how it can help with the tremors. And I'm not going to tell you that it's going to completely cure your tremors if you have them, but it may make them a lot less noticeable. So it talks about how CBD, and I strictly stuck with the CBD. So that's what I was looking at when I've done it. I've worked with a few Parkinson's customers, patients. I'm not supposed to say patients because I'm not a doctor. I just feel like I play a CBD doctor sometimes though. But it's made such a big difference for them, especially the sleep quality. Because I don't know about any of you, but if I don't sleep, my anxiety's worse the next day. Like that's when it's just like I can't control anything that I feel like I need to be controlling of. So if I'm not sleeping well, then my anxiety is usually through the roof. And that's where I've always had that issue. So as long as I'm sleeping well and I'm taking my products, then my anxiety is just nothing like it used to be. But that's what this article talked about. And I think whether you want to use it or not, when you talk to your doctors about it, ask them. A lot of doctors are slowly be like, well, yeah, try it. If you haven't tried it, why not try it? Some doctors are still against it because it's not FDA approved. And again, the reason that the FDA can't approve it, they have Epidiolex. That's the one that has been approved. But Epidiolex, while I was like, okay, it's extremely costly. Insurance doesn't even cover it all. I mean, you're gonna pay way more for that, but they had to put other stuff in with it because you can't patent a plant. So for it to be approved by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, you have to have other things in it. And I don't think it's as effective. And I have friends that have put their children on it because it was supposed to be for children with seizures. And she said, your products are better. And it's because our products have all the cannabinoids where Epidiolex doesn't. It only does a CBD only. So it's called an isolate, CBD isolate that they use in that product. So it's not as beneficial as they say, and it's super costly. But they did talk about that in here, which is good. But a lot of those doctors, I mean, this is a new product, even though I've been doing it now. Oh man, tell my age there, but it seems like we've been at it for a long time. And I think probably one question that people always ask me, are you gonna be able to be a dispensary? I don't know. The shame of it is, while it's on one hand it's good, on the other hand it's bad, they're gonna end up doing a lottery. So while yes, I've been in business selling these products and educating, and we've always been on the right side of the law, anybody can apply. Anybody can fill out that's a lot of paperwork. All this paperwork and apply, but then they're gonna end up having to do a lottery because they're only allowing 2 dispensaries in Jefferson County. There's only gonna be 48 in the entire state. And I can only apply for 1 in 1 region. They have divided the state into, I think, 12 regions. So, and it's very costly. And the amount of money that they want you to put into it is not as beneficial as it could be. That is what it is. So we'll see. I don't even know if I will be a dispenser or not. It is going to be, I think, a crapshoot. And I worry about the people that do end up getting it if they don't have the experience and they're just in it for the money. And that bugs me. And you also have big corporations from outside of Kentucky, and they have been chomping at the bit now ever since the Farm Bill passed and Kentucky had its own rules for hemp. So I fear that big corporations gonna come in and take it over, and it's gonna be even more costly for patients that need it. So I have hope, but at the same time, I'm a realist. Very much a realist, so we'll see if that happens. But I do have these available. What questions do you all have? I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot of information. And I can always do one-to-ones with you as well. So keep that in mind.
Do you raise your own hemp?
We have farmers that grow for us.
Okay.
Yeah, my husband worked, in the very beginning, he probably worked with about 25 different farmers. And then over the years, and when COVID happened and everything just kind of plummeted, I think he's down to like 3. So he works with and they've been with him forever, so they grow his specific genetics that he likes of that plant that has like the high performance of the cannabinoids. But so he partners with the farmers. He's the processor, and then I was the retailer because I could not work with my husband. Love him, but
What form is your CBD oil that you would recommend to a Parkinson's
so
person?
we have it in oils. I have it in gummies. Sometimes gummies are a little bit easier because they are dosed exactly, right? Where the oils, sometimes you can get that all the way to that line. I prefer the oils because I've never been a big candy person. I like chocolate, but I've never really cared for candy. So I'm not a big gummy person, even though most of my products are gummies. But yeah, so it also comes in chocolates, the oils, we have it in vapes, but if you do not smoke, I do not recommend you start. Granted, the one good thing about vaping and smoking, inhaling it, is that it gets it in your system quicker. So maybe for people with like very severe anxiety or like panic attacks, yes, it's gonna get in your system a lot quicker. Where like the oils and the gummies, it takes time to get through your digestive system. Even for the Delta 8s and the Delta 9, the THC, it's gonna take a good 30 to 2 hours before you'll feel those products. So it just takes time. We also have topicals. So for people like with joint pain, those topicals are great for that. I use the topical every day. Oh my God, it's a good moisturizer. But it also helps with like bug bites and sunburns and that joint pain, muscle pain. I will get a little bit of that arthritic pain in my hands sometimes because I'm always using them. So I'll put that on at night usually before I go to bed, and then it doesn't hurt as much in the morning. Knee pain, we have a roll-on that's like a CBD biofreeze. Love that for my lower back and my knees, especially if I've been working out too much, and shoulders. It's just easier to apply, and it has that cooling sensation. So that's a big one. I have bath bombs. I have just lotion in general, but I mean the topical balm is my favorite, and I don't know if I brought one for everyone, but hopefully maybe husbands and wives can at least share one and see if they like it. But yeah, I have a whole bunch of different varieties of things, and different milligrams too. So I have what I call an ultra spectrum line that it has 55 milligrams of CBD, and then it has a ton of the other minor cannabinoids like CBC and CB. It has a little bit of CBN, and CBN is a good sleepy gummy that isn't as psychoactive as the Delta 9. I just launched that new gummy. It's called Blueberry Dreams, and it has CBD and CBN in it with some chamomile. So it's more of that relaxing type feel of the gummy without feeling high from it. So I thought that one I think that'll be a really good gummy. I like being able to make my own stuff too. And because I use a lot of the cannabinoids, I don't use so much the terpenes. Some other companies will use a lot of the terpenes. That's the smell of the plant. So you know how marijuana smells really gross sometimes. Like you're like, that is the most disgusting thing you've ever smelled. And my husband thinks it all smells great. I don't. I think it's gross. And I never liked the flavor of some of the things that he'd make because it tastes like you're eating marijuana. Yeah, I never liked it. I like things that taste good. You can tell that about me. So I formulate my own flavors. So I tried to, even in my oils, I've got like a orange dreamsicle. That is the fan favorite at the store. The only thing about that one, it had to have a little bit of stevia in it because orange oil, the natural orange essential oil, is very bitter. So it's my only one that has a little bit of stevia, the monk fruit in it, which is a natural sweetener. I don't like to use artificial stuff. But like my wild berry, and then I got a spearmint, and then even just the natural. And I will use my natural. It's not me, my husband's, he has come such a long way from the clean process of the distillation process. So he can take out a lot of the terpenes, which gives it that nasty, gross, it almost feels like it burns your throat. It feels peppery when you like take an oil that has no flavoring and stuff like that. That's kind of what it tastes like. You're like, ew, is this gonna hurt me? But it's just the essence of the terpenes. Some people say that there are medicinal values to terpenes. I'm kind of iffy on that one. They talk about it being an entourage effect, but if you get the natural, sure, it's gonna have the natural terpenes in it, but at the same time, who wants to take it? It's gross. A a lot of times, some of those taste like cleaners, because that's what they use. That's where limonol and, something for the pine sol smell. That's literally what they use. They're called terpenes. And so you think you're taking a cleaner, and that's kind of why you think it tastes like that. So I have worked really hard to make things taste better. But don't get me wrong, some of them still have that hempy bite to them. But another one of my concoctions, it's called Strawberry Fields, and it has the CBD, but also CBG. And CBG is like the mother cannabinoid. That's what all of the other cannabinoids are made from. And CBG is very uplifting. So I really like the Strawberry Fields for like people with a lot of anxiety. It's very isolated, so it's got that CBD benefit and that CBG benefit, and that's why we called it Strawberry Fields. So many different kinds. Go ahead.
And I know I'm monopolizing, but
I'm hoping I'm answering other questions. We'll talk more.
So your Strawberry Fields or your dreamsicle or whatever, that would, that helps with anxiety. So in your experience, people have been able to get off the drugs, the Zoloft or the whatever it is.
Yep. And I've worked with people, obviously you gotta talk to your doctor. Because Zoloft or any of those anxiety meds, if you suddenly stop them, they can have such a detrimental effect to your body. And here's the thing, if they were truly good for you, why do they have withdrawal symptoms? Right? Yeah, it's because your body, it kind of becomes addicting, even though they don't frame it that way. Yeah, so you really gotta like taper down on those kind of medications and talk to your doctor. But I've helped people do that, and then what we do is we'll start slow on the CBD and then increase it. As you start feeling more of those withdrawal symptoms, that's when you need to keep increasing your CBD too. But then you'll come to a point where you kind of level out, and then you can back off on the CBD and find the dose that works for you. And that's what I've done with quite a few people, quite a few. I wish that this stuff existed when my daughter was a teenager. I'm just saying. Than me and her. So, but we just, and, you know, being a teenager, you have anxiety too. So, but yeah, I like that one for that. Good. I know I saw your hand in my face. Okay.
I know some of us at least are on several medications for several different conditions. Is there any research that shows any interaction with the medications we're on, and maybe some things you should not mix?
Yes, absolutely. So statins. Statins are cholesterol medication, right? That one, it disrupts your endocannabinoid system, so I am not a fan of statins. Most doctors, not all, but some will only test your cholesterol one time, and then they won't put you on a statin medication. Well, statins also give you a lot of pain in your joints. So then they put you on other medications. So it becomes this little cycle of, oh, let's fix this. You're having this symptom, it's really from the medication, but let's give you another pill. I hate that stuff. So if you are taking any medication that says grapefruit, you can't have grapefruit, it's because it goes through the P450 enzyme in your liver. So you do not want to take CBD oil at the same time as that medication. Usually it's a 2 to 3 hour window. But warfarin, you know, the blood thinner, you definitely don't want to take CBD oil because it is going to interact with the warfarin. There's other medications too, and I don't know them all because I am not a pharmacist, but most pharmacists, especially in Kentucky, especially in Louisville, they know which drugs interact. There are a few, not a lot, surprisingly, but there are a few. But I know statins for sure, blood pressure medication. Crazy enough, CBD actually helps lower your blood pressure on its own. So if you're taking blood pressure medication, you really want to monitor your blood pressure, make sure it doesn't get too low, because it can. And then you won't maybe need the blood pressure medication. And that is, again, something you need to talk to your doctor about. But yes, pharmacy, talk to them about the drug interactions. They usually know more than the doctors do on drug interactions. So, yes, go ahead. You have a question too?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. First off, and I think you may have answered this, so is the CBD addictive?
No.
The THC?
No.
If you take the THC and you go to your doctor and he does, or she does just a regular blood panel or CBC or whatever, are they gonna know it?
Usually it doesn't show up. You have to do a specific drug test panel. So it's, I think it's 10, usually 10 for the drug test. It's more like for, jobs. They wanna see if you're using heroin, or if you're on a pain, like a pain management type clinic, they have to test, because if you are taking THC products, by state law, supposedly, they cannot give you the opioids anymore, because THC is a drug.
Okay, so, the THC products that you have, are they all below that, or is it 0.3 or 0.03?
Delta 9. Now my Delta 8, no, because I fought really hard, one, to keep those products legal, but I can get a higher milligram in the Delta 8. Now I will not go above 50 milligrams on the Delta 8 because nobody needs that much. Like, to me, that's too much. And if you do build a tolerance to THC, it's not an addiction though. So you may need, if you keep using THC products, you might need more to help you feel that way. Does that make sense? But it's not necessarily an addiction. But if people get to that stage where they feel like they're taking too much THC products, I just tell them to back off for a couple days. Your body will rewrite itself as far as the THC goes. But you won't have the feelings of withdrawal or that addictive type feeling to it. So yeah.
Okay. What if you said, you can't take it with warfarin, what about things like Plavix? It's also a blood thinner.
It is. I know for sure that Xarelto's fine, because I take Xarelto. I've had 3 DVTs in 1 leg and 2 superficials, so I take Xarelto. And I got it January of 2020. I ended up getting it right before COVID. And I was so upset, and my doctor knows what I do for a living. I'm like, are you telling me that I cannot take my own products anymore? Like, my whole life's over. Like, it's just in my head. He's like, no, he goes, that one's fine. He goes, my mom takes Xarelto. It goes through your kidneys instead of your liver. So some medications are dispersed through your kidney instead of your liver. So it just depends. Plavix, I think you're okay with. I would still double check, but I think Plavix is okay too. I know her name is Amber Cans. She's Dr. Amber Cans. She is amazing, and she might be someone you want to bring in too. But she and I will do a lot of things together. She's also on the board with me, but she is a doctor of pharmacy, and she knows so many of the drug interactions. So if you guys ever wanted her number, I can share that. And usually she's pretty good about helping people, because she's a lot like I am. We got in this business to help people, so I love that about her. But she knows a lot of that stuff too.
And you can go into any of your pharmacies, you know, from working at Walgreens pharmacies years and years ago. I know that even if the pharmacist doesn't know for sure, it's constantly updating the system, they can literally just type into the system the drug that you take, and then the interaction, especially now that it's going to be, medical is going to be legal, it's already going to be in the system. And so they're going to know those interactions, and then they can give you a print off too, a printout.
I like compounding pharmacies too, like some of the little smaller home
Yeah,
pharmacies. They're
those
really
are
good
great.
about that too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Does the CBD full spectrum have the THC in it?
Yeah, just very minimal. Like one of these gummies, I think, and these are my CBD gummies, like, per gummy, I think it's about 2 milligrams. Like, it's not even enough for you to feel it. And these, some people will get some pain relief from them, but not as much as you would if it was just a THC one. So yeah, up to, and it's all based on weight. So I've got gummies that are like that big. So they're like 20 milligrams of Delta 9 THC, but they also have 20 milligrams of CBD. They're actually my favorite gummy. I will cut it like in fourths, or just take a little bite, and I'm just good and chill, and I can relax and watch a movie and giggle and not think about the world. Those are my favorite because they also have that CBD, and CBD will block a lot of those receptors in your brain where you can feel the psychosis, the psychosis effect of the THC. So CBD has that blocking receptors. So you feel all the THC in your head. CBD can kind of counteract that. So if God forbid you did take too much THC, you could use some of that CBD isolate, and it will bring your symptoms of THC down. So, you know,
How long does this last?
How long does it last? Like what, the THC or CBD?
The feeling of euphoria.
Well, and that's the THC side. It can last anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, just depending on how much you take. That's why everybody's like, don't freak out. You don't need to go to the hospital. You're okay. You will come down from it. You will not die. you might feel that little heart palpitations, cause that's usually, if you take too much, it can increase your anxiety, or it can increase the paranoia, so then you get worried. And that's kinda how we react to the THC products. It happened to me, way before I even got in this business, when my mom had passed away, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just try some. I'll smoke a little bit. I thought I was gonna be the first person to die from it. I really did. I was freaking out, my anxiety was through the roof, and my husband, he's like, you're not gonna die, I promise. And I'm like, yes, I am, it's gonna be me, this is gonna be my legacy that I'm gonna leave for everyone. I didn't, but I never did use that much ever again. I was like, nope, I knew my limit. So it's just a matter of finding that, that's why I always tell people go slow. If you don't want to have that feeling or have too much, or even get the anxiety from it, cause that's the whole reason most people take these products is to not feel that anxiety, is to feel the relief from it. Don't take too much of it. That's how you avoid that. But again, it's figuring out what you can manage, because we all metabolize this differently. Where my husband needs 200 milligrams of full spectrum CBD daily. That is his regimen. I only need 50. And I'm not way bigger, but I'm bigger than him. I mean, and my RN, she's like this tall, I swear, and just tiny, little tiny thing. She does about 150 a day, but that's what she needs. So it's just a matter of finding what works best for you. And like I said, I have different milligrams, different oil milligrams too. To answer your question, I prefer the oil because I don't like the treats, and I can measure it a little bit better. So if one day if I'm feeling really stressed, I can give myself a little bit more oil if I need it. So you can use more a little easier than you can eating a whole nother gummy on the CBD ones.
If your blood pressure is typically low, does the oil cause it to be lower?
Yes and no. If you normally are already low, it usually won't affect it and make it lower. But again, you need to check. I've never had anybody like bottom out or anything crazy like that with CBD oil that have already had low blood pressure. Surprisingly, my blood pressure's low unless I go to a doctor. But mine usually stays like 110 over 70. I've even had it be like 95 over like 65. I'm like, ooh, is that too low? And I've been fine. So I've never had that happen. It's something to be aware of and to like check yourself, but I've never had that happen. So, yeah. What else?
If you're one of the lucky people that get a dispensary, how will you do that with your business that you have now? Will you have two separate businesses? I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't even, like in the dispensary, they won't allow me to sell anything else but those products. So I couldn't sell any hemp products. I couldn't even sell any of like the hardware that you'll need for vaping or smoking, even though we're not supposed to sell smokable flower. Weird, that was such a weird law. But I won't be able to sell any of that stuff. So more than likely, and I am kind of hopeful, I will have those products in my other store. So that way, at least we'll know how to advise people. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, again, I'm not holding my breath, but yet I still try to be hopeful about it. Yeah, it's weird. Some of the things that they put in those regulations for the medical, I'm just like, I can tell that these were legislators that wrote this, not actual people in the business. Same thing with the hemp. They're trying to overregulate it now again, and the cabinet. I helped pass a bill back in 23 that it was common sense language. So 21 and up, behind the counter, have it tested, which we already did. I was already doing, and to try and keep it away from kids, because kids were getting the vapes. They're getting the vapes at the darn gas stations, because gas stations are selling that stuff, and 9 times out of 10 they do not card, which that's the whole point. So I don't think these products should be sold at gas stations anyway. But I worked really hard with the Kentucky Hemp Association. I'm actually on the board now. But one, we had to file a lawsuit back in 21 to keep Delta 8 legal, because our Kentucky Department of Agriculture tried to say they were illegal products. I'm like, no. See, I can read the law too, and I knew better. So we all got together and fought that, and we ended up winning. I was right. It didn't bode well because then they tried to eliminate it in the legislation that same season, in '22. We fought that, stopped that, and then again in '23, and they were trying to ban it again, and we actually got in front of the legislator that wrote it, and my husband was able to talk to her like a normal human being and explain to her why we should not be banning any cannabinoids. Because what if it is the cure for something? Why would you ban it? Just, if you create rules and regulations, that's fine, but now the cabinet, they took that, bill that was passed, and they're trying to do all kinds of crazy stuff. They're trying to charge a $2,000 fee, $200 per product, $250, and if I go to an event, and I'm like, and it was all for enforcement. I said, so hold up. You're trying to make our businesses pay to be enforced? Like, there's something very sketchy going on there. We have a surplus in our general fund. If you wanna enforce these regulations, then get it from the taxpayer dollars that have already paid into this, not from the small businesses. So now we're trying to fight that stuff. So it's always something, which is a shame, cause it aggravates me, and I'm like, if y'all would just listen to me and let me write the rules, it would go so much better. Cause we'd already written them, I'd already been following that kind of stuff. We don't sell it to kids. Now, if the parent wants to come in and get them, that's up to the parent.
To segue into this, do young adults, have you seen data that young adults or kids with autism and severe autism it's made a difference?
A huge difference. They're, so we are part of FEET, like we've passed all their stuff to be an autism approved business. But yes, it makes such a big difference. I get goosebumps, sorry. I've had people come in and tell me that their non-verbal child started communicating with them. And you're just like, maybe. How is all of these, when you take something out of someone's diet, like a vitamin D deficiency, that can cause fibro. Same thing with an endocannabinoids. Like, if you're not feeding it what it needs, could it cause things like that? I mean, I'm not a doctor, but the fact that women, we actually do produce cannabinoids in our brain, but sometimes not enough to feed our endocannabinoid system. So my thought is, when women have babies, they produce cannabinoids in the breast milk. They're breastfeeding, it goes to the babies. Well, then all of a sudden, her postpartum kicks in. In my experience, it's because she doesn't have enough cannabinoids in her brain to help with her anxiety and depression. So I think it's the same thing with autism. If it's a vitamin, like, we have to think of these products more as a vitamin and something that our body needs. But I've had a ton of customers that their kid, even grown adult autism, it has been amazing for that. Even just that simple anxiety aspect to it. Because especially for nonverbal children, they can't tell you what's wrong with them. They have a hard time just communicating and talking about that. Some of them don't talk, but it's given a lot of relief for that.
So the parents can come to you and get that for their kid.
Yeah, and I always work with the kids. So obviously they don't need a high dose. Usually it's a small dose. Some do. I have a nephew, he takes 25 milligrams a day, but that is his sweet spot. He does well. He actually goes to school and can function at school without feeling high too. Or even being on meds where I know that it's hard. Kids aren't meant to sit and be like us adults and sit and focus and concentrate. They're meant to be kids. So I'm not a fan of Adderall and the ADD and ADHD stuff and Ritalin and all that. I've got kids that use our products instead, and they can still function in school, but you gotta let the poor kids play too, my goodness, and get rid of some of that energy. Cause they're sitting there all darn day. I have no problem sitting still all darn day. So for a kid, I just can't stand it. So when the immediate thing is for the teachers to, well, you need to get them on that. No, you don't. Change their diet, start eliminating sugars, cause we all know that sugar is not good for us at all. That's why I'm out, again, half gummies, but it's not my favorite thing. There was only about 4 milligrams of sugar, just so you know. Then I got some that was just corn syrup, so I'll put that out there. But, you start changing your diet too. Try to go more natural, try to get back to what our grandparents called food. I mean, the stuff that they sell now, it ain't food. Like, and a lot of those things, they do interact with your body. I was just talking to a girlfriend last night. She said they were telling her friend's son that he was autistic. Well, they did a panel of for allergies, and he's allergic to a ton of different foods. And once they started eliminating some of those foods, has just, I wouldn't say normal, but my gosh, it's made a big difference for him. So sometimes I also think that there's a food issue there too. And just eliminating some of that stuff that can cause interactions with your body. We weren't meant to eat all those chemicals. My gosh, Kraft macaroni and cheese, they don't want to sell that in Europe because it's just filled with chemicals. What do most kids eat? Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Do you have, where would you find the information? I know you got the little wheel there, but what each one of these different, CBDs affect, or how it affects, or interacts?
Well, so, I mean, you can just do a little Google search. If you've heard like CBN, and I can hardly ever pronounce all of it, cannabinol. So CBN is the sleepy gummy that I was mentioning earlier with my blueberry dreams. It will tell you and it's new too. So there's no true definite answers. They're saying it's the sleepy gummy. Well, anecdotally, it is. But there's still research on all kinds of things. So these aren't even all of them. And you're welcome to come take a picture of this. I've got little handouts for you guys too, but this is just some. This doesn't even have all of the cannabinoids on there. Because there's, like I said, like 130 major and minor cannabinoids. Where THC is a major cannabinoid, CBG is the major cannabinoid, CBD is a major cannabinoid. But you've got like CBDA, you've got THCA, you've got all these other minor cannabinoids too. But it's hard. I don't know them all. Beth will be like, oh, did you hear about this? And I'm like, no, what does that one do? So I feel like I'm always learning too. Like I am constantly reading like what's the latest. I get emails all day long and I will figure out, oh, that is great. I didn't know that cannabinoid's helping with that. That's great. So it's a constant learning process. I do feel like again, the doctors see me sometimes where I'm constantly learning about new things. And I don't always know the answers. I really don't. I'd like to say I do, but I don't always know the answers. So it's just about learning. I don't even know, I don't even think this is on our website because it's almost like it's making claims. And FDA, I couldn't tell you how many credit card processors have shut down our credit card processing. If I had even like people that say, oh, this has helped me with this, this, and this, I can't even put that on our website. Like anytime I go to get a new credit card processor, I have to clean everything off my site. So anybody that's made claims, not even just us, but even customers. So I have to be super careful with that. So in a lot of our blogs, we'll use the terms like may, possibly, you know what I mean? We're not making a true claim to it. So if you've ever come across that where it's not been that definite answer, that's why. It's because the FDA won't allow you to. Many companies, which is kind of weird because then they almost become famous. So they'll get one of those FDA letters, well, you've made these claims and claims, well then, everybody knows about that company, you know what I mean? So it's almost like it does them a favor. And I'm always like, but I try to stick to what's right and what's legal and not take advantage of people. That's why I got in this business. What else? Any other questions? I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you, yeah. Thank you.